looks good. Sounds great. Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here at Les Hills Harley-Davidson, Southwest Iowa. Check out what we have today. This is an absolutely gorgeous, the color's right. I love the way this thing looks. An absolutely gorgeous, what year do you think it is? Looks like a 1969, doesn't it? But it's not. It's a 2021 Electra Glide Revival, it's called. And it just, I'm an old man. I love the way these things look. Just look at all the details on this hot rod. Just phenomenal. The pipes are an add-on. These pipes. I think it's called Hi-Fi Blue and Birch White are the colors. That is the stock seat. Just a fabulous machine. I love the fairing. Look at that front end. Isn't that just gorgeous? We're going to talk a little bit about the details before we get into the nitty-gritty. Look at this. The frames are on the bags. Just phenomenal. Look at that. Oh, you can still take the bags off, I suppose, for cleaning. The big solo seat. You're up in the air a little more, kind of like a cop seat. Beautiful, beautiful. But yet, it has a 6.5-inch TFT with the modern boombox system, modern gauges. It's got the absolutely wonderful, let's start over here, the absolutely wonderful Milwaukee M8 114 engine. I think that whoops out a whopping 97 horsepower, 118 foot-pounds of torque. That's 160 Newton meters. But look at that, isn't that just glistening in chrome? This is the kind of thing I like. I love the blacked out, but I really like the chrome. But look at that thing. The cam's down here, the valves are up here, 8 valves, 4 valves per cylinder. You know, push rod engine still, fuel injected, of course. Here's the 6-speed transmission, and I think Harley should come up with a name for their 6-speed transmission because it's one of the most positive shifting, easy shifting transmissions that I get to use, and I do really enjoy it. It's it needs its own, you know, moniker, I guess. You know, the motor's the M8. The tranny should have its own name too. When they did the work on that, they so let's think one up. Y'all think of a name for that. Put in the comments below. Engine is 10.5 to 1 compression. I already told you the horsepower, 97. Just a beautiful thing. And I've ridden these motorcycles. Like I said, we're not going to ride today because it's just too chilly out. But one of the smoothest engines ever made, I think. The M8 is just, it's absolutely my favorite Harley engine. Just a hint, they're all my favorite Harley engines. But this one is by far the torquiest, smoothest. You know, the transmission that goes with it is just fabulous. And I'm just going to mention this real quick. The clutches on these things, there is nothing like a clutch on a Harley-Davidson. You let this out, no matter what the RPMs are, and the bike just scoots forward gently. It just does its job so well. I'm going to mention this real quick too. This is one of 1,500 made. This is number 445. But you know, look at that. Isn't that just phenomenal? Oh wow, it has traction control. Well, we'll go over that in a minute. What do we have on the front end? Well, we've got dual disc brakes. Looks like fixed disc. Four piston calipers. Very nice. Yeah, they are. They're the 4 piston calipers, and I think they're like that front and rear. Let's see if we can get a look at the rear. The rear would be a single disc. I can't see the caliper, but Harley's pretty good about that. One thing I will say about Harley is they have very predictable and effective brakes. They just work very well. 49 millimeter tubes. I could not find a travel distance. If you all know it, post it below. But they're covered tubes, so you don't have to worry about dirt and bugs and things like that. But I just love this front end. Isn't that just gorgeous? You know, the little road lights, and I think those are stock. The road lights are, and of course the fairing. Who doesn't like that fairing? You know, I'm going to jump over here real quick. When I rode these bikes with that kind of fairing before, one of the things that I just love about it are the gauges being up here. You know, line of sight here, gauges right there. You don't have to move your head very far down to get them. Nothing against the lower gauges, they're fine too, but I do like that. But okay, rolling right along. This bike has crash bars front and rear. We talked about that. I've got a good friend, you know who you are, bought himself a Netty Road King with crash bars front and rear, and we went to go riding one day, and his bike fell on its side 5 times. Can you guys guess why? Well, no damage. Little scuffing on the bars, but nothing. The bags were fine. The bike was fine. We were fine. I got him home safely, so you know, life was good. But so these bars are very important to have. I think and I think they look very good on this bike. But so moving on over, the M8 engine, the big old floorboards. I love forward controls on a motorcycle. I love floorboards. I think every bike should have them. Just a wow kind of thing. Big old seat. It's up on a shock. You can see the shock right there. I suppose that's adjustable. Yes, it is, at least for compression. The single-sided shifter. Looks like it's got a hookup for a battery tender. Hey, look at this color real quick. Let's get on the sun side. I didn't notice that earlier. You got the blue, the white, and then this is a flat black. Got the Harley emblem with little white inserts in there. That's pretty nifty, huh? I like that. Look at that whole look. Isn't that just gorgeous? Phenomenal, phenomenal. Seat height on this thing is 29.6 inches. And I believe that. That's pretty high for a Harley. For a Harley, that's high. For a normal motorcycle, that's not. But it's got that tall seat. That's 752 millimeters. And I really like that seat. If it warms up and we get a chance, we're going to have to take that for a ride, because I'd like to see what that feels like. The tank is 6 gallons. That's 22.7 liters. So you got plenty of travel with that. That's what that looks like. I like that. I like that a lot. This is a really nifty looking bike. The front tire is a 90/16. This has 16s front and back, by the way. And the rear tire is a 180/65/16. Take a look at that width. 180. Just a gorgeous thing. That whole back end is just beautiful. I like the, I do like the wider stance of the, I think it's the Road Team that has that standard, but I do like this too. I really do like the way that looks, and that works really good with this chrome, especially that blue. It's just a fabulous looking thing, fabulous. These are supposed to get about, I think 43 miles a gallon is what I read. That's a pretty good distance with a 6-gallon tank. The wheelbase on a hot rod like this, let's step back over here, 64 inches. 64 beautiful, glorious inches of wheelbase. That's 1,625 millimeters. And ground clearance, and look at that. You're not going to believe this number. It looks taller than that. It's 4.5 inches of ground clearance. That's 114 millimeters. And even right now, it looks like it has more than that. Even on its side stand, it looks like more than that. I'd have to measure that, I believe. But it's a pretty good number, wouldn't you say? So what is the big number? The number we all want to know. And as large as this number is going to be, just remember, this is a very low center of gravity motorcycle with 16-inch wheels. What does this thing weigh? This thing weighs wet 862 pounds. That's 391 kilograms. And that may sound like an awful lot, and I'll be honest, it is, but ride one of these. Ride one of these. I started riding these large Harleys regularly this year, last year actually, and the biggest surprise I had was how much I enjoyed riding such a large, comfortable, and luxurious motorcycle. And I think that's the key thing there. It's large, but it's comfortable, and it's luxurious. People see you on this bike. It's bright, it's gorgeous, it's shiny. You stand out on one of these. So, there's that. Public safety, right? Let's jump up to the instrument panel or dash area. We'll start with the fairing. I love this fairing. I've talked about it before. A friend of mine lent me his Electra Glide, and I took it down to Missouri, 300-mile ride, and it had this fairing on it. And it rained about 150 miles of that ride, and about a 50 to 100 of that, it was pretty heavy rain. And my hands stayed dry. I had gloves on. My gloves were dry when I got back. Now my legs were wet because he didn't have the lowers. But the fairing itself, my head was fine, my coat, my jacket, everything stayed fine because this fairing is so effective. I think his was a 2013. If you go back in the videos, you can find it. It's just an absolutely beautiful bike. So going back up here, we talked about the gauges. So I got a fuel gauge, speedometer, tachometer, and voltage gauge. We'll get to this in a minute. Let's jump over here. Traction control button, and I'm not sure if this has, you know, I bet it does, the you know, the 6-axis IPU, the traction control on the brakes, the switching on the brakes, the modulation between front and rear. I bet it does because it has the traction control button. But anyway, you can turn the traction control on and off. Here's the horn, lights, you know, the high-low, intercom talk, left blinker, home button for this, cruise control right here. And by the way, everything here is just top notch. And oh, I want to, this is the information button right over here. We'll get to that in a minute. Then on this side, hazard lights, the run and shut off button, start button, the return button, the right blinkers on a Harley, or left is on the left side, right is on the right side on this kind of Harley anyway. And then this is another joystick. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Another thing is the handlebar, or the mirrors on this bike are mounted to the handlebars. Some people like that, some people like it to the fairing. I've driven both models, different models with that. I think the Ultra Limited had the, one of the bikes had the mirrors on the fairing, and it was grandiose. I loved it, very smooth. The other had the mirrors up here like this, and they work very well. The mirrors on a Harley are, you know, they're the half round with the elongation, and if you ride a lot of motorcycles, you learn really quick that that's a very nice way to have a mirror. But okay, down here looks like our road lights. Let's see what we can do about powering this up. This is our boombox system. So up in here, we've got odometer, we've got the gear selectors down here. This button here controls this LCD right here, and I hope you can see that. Let's try to push that a little bit. There is a trip, the sun's in my eyes, trip A, trip B. That's front tire reserve range. So we've got 37 miles range. The odometer, this motorcycle, oh my gosh, only 4,200 miles on this bike. It's brand new. Then back to trip A. This down here, now the boombox, this is a touch screen, but it's also controllable by these two joysticks. And this deserves a video all on its own. And so I'm just going to touch on this. I'm going to say it's a 6.5-inch full color TFT. I have played with a lot of these, and I will tell you that the Harley-Davidson version is so simple at the front end, but so adjustable deep end. There's so much you can do with this thing if you want to. But at the simple end, it's very user-friendly. So right now, if I want the radio, I hit that. It comes up to the radio. My music options are in here. I can touch that, AM, FM, weather band, you know, whichever I'd like. Return, hit that. And by the way, you can do that with the joystick. I don't know what this is. Oh, okay, this is like if you want news stations or information stations, sports, rock, it'll search for those kind of things, categories. Over here we've got a list, scan, FM functions. I don't know enough about this to tell you about that, so I'm going to kind of skip off that. Let's go back to home. Then we've got the navigation. When I ride a bike like this, I put it on navigation. That gives me a screen of where the bike is right now. You can input, I think you can do it through the bike, or you can use it on your phone and transfer it over. You can input destinations and things like that, routes you want to take, things like that, and it'll give you directions. If you have your headset on, it'll give you Bluetooth right to your headset. I think you have to have the module for that, but it'll do that. Okay, let's back out of that, because like I said, I don't know enough about it. And here you can connect your phone. No phone is connected, so we're just going to skip back out of that. The other thing is there's a compass down here. Let's hit settings. There's all kinds of adjustments you can get into, and like I said, the amount of adjustment you can do with this is so in-depth, we're just going to skip that. Let's go over here to this thing. So these are the bass, the treble, things like that, the volumes. This only has speakers on the front. Some bikes will have speakers on the back also, but this one only has speakers on the front. Headset volumes, rider heads, you know, things like that. Let's skip out of that because I don't know enough about it. But if you come to a dealer, if you come to Les Hills, make sure you check that out. I want to jump up here real quick. See that flashing traction control light? You can use the traction control button to shut that off. I think the motorcycles are running. But you can shut that off and on. Right now the traction control is still on. Okay, the bike must have to be running. But you can shut off traction control on this bike and that light will stay on solid. When it's flashing like that, that means it's getting ready to arm. You can also hit the traction control button and see that little rain cloud? That means you're in rain mode, and that limits horsepower and adjusts the traction control settings and things like that. Another thing this does is ABS, has the ABS, like once the bike starts moving, it sets itself, and ABS works fine. Okay, let's jump out of that. That's kind of boring to me. That's not boring. It's just, this is what I like. I love the beauty of the bike. It's just, these motorcycles are just pure art, rolling art. It's just a fabulous looking machine. I love the wire wheels. I love the aesthetic of the 1969 classic look. The pipes are an excellent add-on that they put on. Everything about this bike is just, you know, look at this metal cage on the back here. I mean, that's just an absolutely beautiful thing. And you know what? I really want to ride it, but I can't. If you're interested in a bike like this, get a hold of Jimmy here at Lost Hills Harley-Davidson. This bike, a new bike, a used bike, any kind of Harley-Davidson. They've got a whole room full of used ones over yonder. They've got a whole room full of new and used ones in here. They can help you out. They've got, I think, over 200 motorcycles there. I think they've got a dozen trikes right now. So get yourself down here to Lost Hills Harley-Davidson, ask for Jimmy. He can help you out. Now, if it's warm enough where you're at, get out there and ride, my friends. Life is good. Wahoo! It looks good.